Frankenstein, now a terrifying adventure module for any system and level. Available for download at questgivers.com. Is this the best political intrigue scenario of all time? I review Cubicle 7's Power Behind the Throne for Warhammer Fantasy Role-play today on Dungeon Craft. Welcome to Dungeon Craft. I'm Professor DungeonMaster, and this channel is about all tabletop RPGs.
And I'm Deathbringer. Level up your game by subscribing.
I've been asked many times over the years about how to design a political intrigue scenario, and I always direct viewers to the classic Warhammer module Power Behind the Throne, but it's been out of print for many years, and fortunately Cubicle 7 has done a new director's cut, and we take a look at it today. Power Behind the Throne is 160 pages, hardbound, and they make excellent use of the inside cover. Here is a map of the city of Midheim with notable locations, and it's repeated here with even more locations. The plot: the characters arrive in the city of Midheim at the start of an 8-day carnival. They're taxed heavily upon entering, especially if they are clerics, dwarfs, or wizards. The characters are ostensibly chasing the cult of the Purple Hand, and they will pick up the trail in Midheim, although it dovetails into an entirely different plot, so it's a bit of a red herring. The characters can gather rumors and news through NPCs, and they'll discover that the taxes are a recent idea by Graf Boris Todbringer, the Elector Count who runs the city, and they are very unpopular with the dwarfs and the wizards. We're presented with a nice coaching inn, the Templar's Arms, that can serve as a home base of operations for the player characters. There are detailed descriptions of the non-player characters, but I've run this game several times, and there's so many NPCs, the characters seldom get to talk to them. This is a new addition. The characters are soon ambushed by the cult of the Purple Hand, and I like it because it interject some combat into this adventure very quickly. This is a social adventure. It's filled with social encounters. And by starting it with combat, there's more of a hook. There's more of a sense that the player characters are onto something. They're not sure what, but it gives them the drive to continue their investigations. This is something that previous editions didn't have. It's a welcome addition. The city of Midheim describes how the city operates and describes Graf Boris Todbringer, the head, and his sons Stefan and Heinrich. This is one of the things I don't like as a game designer. Graf Boris Todbringer has this huge stat block, but the fact is the characters probably won't even meet him. Same thing with Heinrich Todbringer. He's not even in the city, so his stats don't really need to be here. And Baron Stefan Todbringer is sick and cannot fight. So this is space that could have been used more efficiently. It also gives the impression that you're supposed to fight with these characters or something, which you are not. We'll probably not even meet him till the very climax of the adventure. But it is important to know how his family operates. The evil plot. This provides an overview of the mystery. So the forces of chaos seek to undermine the security of Midheim. That's what those taxes are about. They're looking to drive out the dwarfs and wizards who are instrumental in protecting the city. But there's another insidious plot. On the 8th and final day of the carnival, they are going to attempt to replace the Graf with a doppelganger, a literal doppelganger, the monster, and in this manner, they can take control of the city of Midheim. There are many non-player characters, and they don't know of this plot. It is a massive conspiracy. Even the conspirators don't necessarily know all the details of the plot. Only the mastermind, the one character, knows everything. The plot is complex, and the game master has to do a lot of careful reading so they know what the objectives of the bad guys are. There are some initial encounters. There are Skaven or Skaven. I always called them Skaven because they're like scavengers, but you meet them for the first time in this part of the Enemy Within campaign. It is possible the characters might meet them in the sewers or lurking around. Then we have a description of the taxes, how they work, the different guilds and commissions in the city, and the temples, and its really details. And it's important for the game master to sort of know this information well enough that if they ask an NPC about it, that NPC would be able to respond in a way that the Game Master doesn't have to pause to look it up. This is the best part of the book, and the bulk of the adventure is the Carnival. And there are a whole bunch of things the characters can both watch and participate in. Participation events include things like the Minotaur fights, betting on snotling football, and the archery contest. Characters can also attend events like the Royal College of Music has concerts and operas, and the Royal Gardens. This is where you're more likely to meet some of the noble movers and shakers. This particular handout, the Master Attractions Calendar, is critical. This is a day-by-day breakdown of which event is occurring where and who is at those events. I guarantee you this module has more NPCs that the characters have to speak to than any module I can imagine. And that's both its strength and its weakness. It feels like a real world, and the Game Master's got to do a lot of work to create an individual voice for all these non-player characters and to really know what they want, what their goals are, and about their misconceptions without having to look up too much stuff. Different characters have different amounts of influence on the graph. Now, some have a lot of influence, like the princess, but she's not involved or interested in politics. Other characters, like the baronial physician, Dr. Luigi Pavarotti, has lots of influence, but he doesn't realize he has that much. Part of the mystery is who convinced the graph to pass the taxes in the first place. The mastermind has gone to great lengths to obscure his own involvement, coercing members of the court into using their influence on the graph to pass the taxes. His methods include hypnotism, blackmail, kidnapping, and turning one key NPC into a drug addict. His heavy is Natasha the spy, who runs a cell of criminals. She doesn't know the extent of the entire plot. She just does the mastermind's dirty work and allows him to appear innocent. So this scenario has a lot of moving parts of which the Game Master has to be aware, so they really have to read it thoroughly before they attempt to run the game. By participating in events, the characters get the opportunity to meet these NPCs, interact with them, and ask them questions. For example, if PCs participate in the archery tournament, they will meet Alevandril Fanmaris, the Master of the Hunt, who is a member of the inner court. If they make friends with Alevandril, he can introduce them to other court characters, such as the court minstrel, Relaine Lefarrell, who is also friends with the Graph's champion, Dieter Schmeidenhammer. Dieter Schmeidenhammer wants to marry Kirsten Jung, a lady of the court. And Kirsten is friend with Petra Liebkosen, who actually knows most of the plots that are going on. She doesn't understand their full significance, but more than anyone, this character is the key to unraveling the mystery. And what's fascinating about Petra Liebkosen is there's no particular reason for the player characters to talk to her, except she's very attractive. If given sufficient attention and gifts from a player character, she will gradually reveal information, and the players can gradually piece together the plot. And what's so interesting about this character is she has no spells, she doesn't have any fighting ability. A little bit of an in-joke, her name, Liebkosen, in German means to caress, and she's a seductress. So this scenario hinges on one of the characters developing, if not a romantic relationship, at least a flirtatious relationship with her, if they are to solve the mystery. That's one of the things that makes this scenario so unique. The characters can only succeed if they build relationships, even friendships, with a wide variety of NPCs who feel like real people. Once player characters discover the existence of the spy and track her to her lair, the scenario becomes encounter-based, with the characters racing across the city to rescue a kidnapped child, rescue the Graph, and an action-packed climax where the villain tries to escape by hurtling through the city at full speed in an armored battle wagon, and it's got wheel blades and it shoots fireballs and has a bomb in it. Probably the greatest chase sequence in all of tabletop role-playing games. Now, there are sidebars throughout where it says for grognards. These are people who have played this scenario before, and it allows you to switch up who is doing it and why and things like that, so you can still surprise the players. Really excellent addition. Power Behind the Throne is a feast for players who love mysteries and role-playing. It is not combat heavy. There are as few as 3 combats, and this might take as many as a dozen sessions or more. But if your players like role-playing, there is no finer adventure. Power Behind the Throne by Cubicle 7 is available at the link below, as is the Power Behind the Throne companion, which goes into more detail about the city of Midheim. Also highly recommended. I'll go into more detail about that book in the extended version of this video on Patreon, as well as give some more tips on how I have run this massive scenario, and you can always click on more reviews in the bottom corner. I'll see you soon. May all your rolls be 20s.
Deathbringer again! You know who the power behind the throne is in this place? Mrs. Professor Dungeon Master. She designed the hoodies below. Get one and watch more dungeon craft.